In this video, we are going to find probabilities for normal variables without using a calculator. And so when you are looking for a probability, just remember that it can only fall between 0 and 1. So there are 4 probability problems. You can either have the probability that x equals a value, it's less than a value, greater than a value, or between two values. So if we start with the equal to value, this is stating that we want to find the probability when x is equal to a specific value. And in this case, the probability will always equal 0. So if we look at a quick example, let's say you ask what is the probability that the weight of a car will be equal to 3,500 pounds, then because this is stating that x is equal to 3,500 pounds, the probability will equal 0. So that's the case for all of these problems. As for the other 3 scenarios, you could have a less than problem. This is where you're solving for the area under the curve that falls below a specific value. You could have a greater than problem where you're looking for the region that's greater than a specific value. Or you can have a between problem where you're given 2 values and you need to find the probability that your x falls between 2 values. So in all 3 cases, if we're solving these by hand, we can actually use a z-transformation, and this is where you transform your x value into a z-score. So if we look at a simple example where the x represents the weight of cars that are distributed normally with a mean of 4,000 and a standard deviation of 1,000, then if you're asked what is the probability that a car weighs less than 3,500 pounds, it weighs greater than 3,500 pounds, or that it weighs between 2,500 and 3,500 pounds, we can solve this by hand by transforming our x values into a z-score. So you're going to subtract your mean and divide by your standard deviation. So if we take the 3,500 pounds and subtract off 4,000 and divide by 1,000, we get a z-score of negative 0.5. And if we do the same for the 2,500 x value, we get negative 1.5 as our z-scores. So once you have your z-scores, you can actually rewrite your probability problem as the probability that z is less than negative 0.5, the probability that z is greater than, or the probability that it falls between your two z-scores. So once you have these values, we can look at a z-table, or a standard normal table. And when you read this table, all of the probabilities are going to fall on the inside, and the z-scores are going to fall on the outside. And the way to search for a probability, a standard normal table is representing probabilities in a less than problem. So if we look at our very first problem, we're looking for the probability that z is less than negative 0.5. So in order to find this probability, you will follow the first column to look for negative 0.5, and if you have multiple decimal places, your second decimal place, you go across the rows. So if we go to negative 0.50, we find the probability is 0.30854, and that would be the probability that the car weighs less than 3,500 pounds. Now if we move on to the greater than problem, notice that we have the exact same z-score and probability, but again, the standard normal table is giving you a less than probability. So in order to solve this problem, you're actually going to take 1 minus the probability that z is less than negative 0.5, and notice that we get 0.69146. So this would be the probability that the car weighs greater than 3,500 pounds. Now as for your in-between problem, you're going to actually subtract the two probabilities. So you're going to find the probability that z is less than negative 0.5, and then you're going to subtract the probability that z is less than negative 1.5. So you're again going to look for both of these values in the table. You can go to negative 0.5 and then negative 1.5 on your z-score and find the corresponding probabilities, and when you subtract the two values you will get your final probability, which here is 0.24173. And we'll see how to do this on a calculator in our next video.